So we have seen, we have taken example of these patterns. So regex is basically a set of pattern which matches a set of strings, and we took these examples. We created the pattern with the help of the pattern table. And now you have to do on your own this question 4. Please do it. So now our last question. First 3 are alphabets, last 3 are digits. This is how you represent an alphabet, exactly 3 times. Digit exactly 3 times. Caret is starting of the string, dollar is ending of the string. Now try to create a regular expression pattern which will match any 10-digit mobile number which starts with 87. Very good, Enoman. Almost correct. This is also fine, Nadia. You just have to end it with dollar symbol, and though I haven't taught, but you have used correctly the /d. Good. So I think you are aware. So basically it would be starting with 87, followed by 0 to 9, followed by a dollar symbol. Now let us try to see some other set of patterns. /d also means any digit. /D means non-digit. /s means space. /S means non-space. /W means a word. /W means a non-word. Okay? So these are also the set of expressions, patterns, meta character which we can use to create an expression. Let us take another question. Create a pattern which will match a SSN number. An example of an SSN number is like this. And so on and so forth. So again, let us see what is that we observe. We say /d 3 times followed by a dash, /d 2 times followed by a dash, /d 4 times, and then dollar. Is this correct? If I want to create a pattern which will match an SSN number, have I created it correctly? Instead of /d, you could have also written 09. Okay, now let us take one last question for pattern creation, and then we will see how using Java we can create our regular expression pattern matching. So you have to create a pattern which will match the following which will match a special character. Okay. Try to create a pattern which will match a special character. You know what special characters are like? You caret, percentage, hash, at the rate. These are all special characters. So what pattern will you create which will match a special character? Think about it. Star basically will match anything. That's not the right answer. So try to think in negation. What is that a special character is not? Almost correct. It's just that your slashes are opposite. So something which is a non-digit, non-space and a non-word is a special character. So you say something which is a non-digit, non-word, non-space is effectively a special character. So anything which falls under this category is effectively a special character. Okay. Any questions in here about creation of patterns? Yes, I can share the last table. Here. So now let us see through a Java program how we can create and do our work for the regular expression. Let us try it. So you have to basically import java.util.regex package. So java.util.regex contains this matcher class and pattern class, which we will be using. So we import regex.matcher and regex.pattern, and we have our scanner class in place. Then we start with our program. Basically in this particular program, we are asking the user to enter a SSN number. If the pattern which we have created for SSN number matches, then the valid SSN number has been entered. Otherwise, we say it is an invalid SSN number. So how do we do it? We create a scanner object to read the string which has been entered. Then we create our pattern string. So our pattern string created is /d followed by dash /d2 followed by dash, and you see there are two slashes. The first slash is acting as an escape character so that the /d is taken as it is. So the first slash is acting as an escape character so that this /d is taken as it is. Then what we do is we create an object of the pattern class pat. We say is equal to pattern.compile pattern string. This is to check if the pattern string created is correct or not. Okay, so this basically checks whether the pattern string created is correct or not. Then you create a matcher object. In the matcher object, you pass in on the pat object matcher function and you pass your string, which is our SSN number. So this pattern will match in this SSN number whether the pattern has a match or not. If it has a match, m.find will return true. If it doesn't have a match, m.find will return false. So when we run this program, let us say I enter something like this. It's a junk value. Let me run it again and let me try to add a valid SSN number. This is a valid SSN number. So I am sharing this program with you, but I am going to change the question so that you create a new pattern, and I'll just give you that. So I want you to share me the program for the pattern I will be asking you to create. Two slashes basically mean, Nadia, the first slash is to act as a escape sequence for the second slash, so that the compiler does not evaluate the second slash. We are escaping the second slash so that the compiler does not evaluate it. So I've given you guys a program. Right now try to ignore the fact that only 3 or 4 prefixes of alphabets are allowed. Leave that part. But write down a program which will basically ask user to enter a valid Singapore NIC number, and if the valid Singapore NRIC number is entered, it will say valid, otherwise it will say invalid. So for the same program, I want you to update it and make it work for the question asked. That's a fine answer, Henoman. What about you, Nadia? Are you done? The only thing which will change is the pattern. Rest everything in your program will remain the same. You will have to just create the pattern which will match the NRIC number. Yeah, this pattern is correct. So you don't say start and inside it you say the caret symbol. That's not right. You say caret A to Z, then it is followed by digit, then it is followed by again A to Z. You are escaping only the slash, and the slash is just before the digit. There is no slash with A to Z. So you don't escape that, okay? And you don't add extra slashes as well. So I hope you are able to understand where you went wrong. Okay. So we are able to match our regular expression by using this concept. Now I want to ask you guys, did we talk about exception handling in our last session? I somehow think we did not. Did we? No, right. So the next topic we are going to talk about is the concept of exception handling. But before we move on to this concept of exception handling, is there anything you guys want to ask me? Okay, great. So let us talk about the concept of exception handling. Before we talk about the concept of exception handling, let us first talk about errors. So errors are effectively man-made, the mistakes which we do when we are going to write down a program. And these are generally classified into three categories. The first category is a syntax error. The second category is a runtime error. The third category is a logical error. The syntax error is basically an error which we have made when we have faulted at the syntax level. Example, you forgot to close a brace. You have Java is case sensitive. You did not take care of the case sensitive part of Java. You forgot to declare a variable. You forgot to add a semicolon in the end, etc., etc. So basically, errors which are made at the syntax level while writing down a program are syntax error. They are basically detected at the time of compilation. If your program has syntax error, you will not be able to compile the program. Have you noticed that? When you are writing down programs, if you have a syntax error, it shows a red line and you are not able to run the program. So it will not allow you to even compile. Then you have got runtime errors. Runtime errors are those errors which occur at the time of execution. So at the time of execution, there is some value which is basically received or basically updated, which causes this exception to occur. Example, if you are trying to divide a number by 0, so though the logic will appear correct and program is syntactically correct, but at the runtime when it says or when it sees you're trying to divide a number by 0, it will throw a division by 0 error. Then what's next? Array index out of bounds. We saw this error. The program will be syntactically correct, but at the time of execution, a value will be created which does not hold true. So you get a runtime error. Do you guys remember array index out of bound exception? Great. The third type of error, which is the most difficult error to cater to, is a logical error. So what is a logical error? A logical error is an error which occurs when the logic is faulted. So basically what happens is the program will not work at all because, or the program will work but it will produce a bad output. It will not produce an output which is expected. It will produce a bad output. And they are the most difficult to detect because you have only written down the logic of the program. So you think that you have written it correctly, but at the end of the day, what you get is a logical error, which means the logic is faulted and you have produced a bad output. Okay, for example, you are trying to say if A less than B, print A is greater. Now, no matter how many times I run this program, it will always produce a bad output because actually A is less than B. This condition will return true when A is less than B, so it should be print B is greater. So this type of an error when we encounter or when we create is a logical error. The program is fine at syntax level, at runtime also, but produces a bad output. Make sense? Yes, the problem is with the way the programmer has created his or her logic, and it is definitely not with the program. Now, what are exceptions? Exceptions are effectively situations which arise at runtime, causes error, and program to abort abruptly. So what will happen is that your program will abruptly abort. Now this is not a good situation to be in because abrupt program termination can cause data loss, can make your system unstable, can make your files corrupt, and we do not like this situation. Also as testers, we should write down programs which are resilient to exceptions. For example, I'll give you a situation. Let us say you have got 10,000 test cases to execute. and you are writing down an automation script. Obviously, your automation script is going to run in a standalone mode, which basically means there will be no one monitoring the application execution. Is that correct? So let us say after the first 10 test cases, the 11th test case onwards, let's say till 20th test case, there is a file on which these 11 to 20 test cases depend on. And at the last minute, you forgot to copy the file at the location where it is expected. The next day morning when you will come, how many test cases would have been executed? 9,990 or only 10? Only 10. Is it acceptable? Whereas if I would have handled exception handling in those 10 files, where if the file is not found, handle the exception and move on, my 9,990 test cases would have been executed, and this is a very good situation to be in, isn't it? Those 10 test cases had an issue, and we have created a smart program which could handle that issue, and we were good to go, right? So this is what we should aim for. So how do you ensure that your program is written in a way where you have created exception handling or where you have taken care of the exceptions? So you do that by using something called as a try catch block. You say try, you write down the code prone to exception in here. Then you say catch, you catch the exception. You say what you want to do with the exception object. And then you say finally. Finally basically means execute whether exception comes or not. Finally will execute whether exception comes or not. So you say try, catch and finally. So try, you write down the code prone to exception, catch, what you want to do with the exception object, finally you execute whether exception comes or not. Okay. So this is the way you write down a program. Let us say I have written down a program where I am trying to divide a number by 0, and let me try to run that program with and without exception handling. So here I have declared two variables I and j. I is 0, j is 10, and I have created a variable where I am dividing j by I, and I am printing the output. If I have not put it in the try catch block, my program will abruptly end. But since I have put the code which is prone to exception in a try catch block, and I have said catch the arithmetic exception found, it will execute the catch statement, it will also execute the finally statement, and it will execute the statement outside the try catch block. So when I run this program, it will tell me yes, arithmetic exception has occurred, division by 0. It will tell me it's in the finally block, and it will tell me that it is outside the try catch block. Let us say there is no exception which occurs. In that situation, also the finally block and the code outside the try catch block will work. So finally always work whether exception is there or not. So finally always work where there is exception or not. Whereas this will work if the exception is caught. If the exception is not caught and we were just writing down the program as it is, the minute this line gets executed, it will throw an exception. If there is no try catch block created, it will throw the exception to the Windows operating system. The OS doesn't know what to do with it, and the program abruptly ends, causing file corruption, data loss, system getting unstable, etc. etc. So we always try to write down the code which is prone to exception in a try-catch block. Does this make sense? Okay. So try to write down a program as an assignment right now. Try this. Write a program where you deliberately access an array position which is not within the bounds. Surround the code with try-catch block. Okay, so this is your question and I'm sharing the code which we have just seen with you for you guys to take help. Okay, so let's do that. Try this out, let me know. I mean, share the code once you have done that. Go ahead and do it. Fine work, guys. Both of you have shared it correctly. So you have understood where and how we use the try-catch block. Okay, great. So if we want, we can also have multi-layer of catch blocks, okay? There is not only one layer of catch block which you can create. It could be possible that the code which we have written is going to throw multiple exceptions. And if in case it is going to throw multiple exceptions, we can use a multiple try-catch block to write the code, okay? So for example, you say in here, you are trying to ask the user to enter an array or to create an array, and then you are trying to divide that array. So we can basically say that there could be an exception of index out of bound, there could be a division by zero exception, or there could be a generic exception. So there could be introduced different layers of catch blocks to effectively call upon different exceptions. Okay. So you can have an exception of array, you can have an exception of arithmetic, you can also have a generic exception. Okay. So there could be different exceptions which could be created for a particular program. Is this also clear? Great. So the next concept, we basically catch the exception and you basically then handle the exception object. So when you say AE dot, you can effectively get the message. The idea is to basically capture the message or print the stack trace information. What you would do with the error once you have captured, you would like to know what misbehaved. So the message which we have caught with the exception or the stack trace which we have generated through the exception basically helps us in the debugging form. So that's what we do. Okay. So I don't want to start a new topic today, but I will just give a brief introduction about the concept, and the concept which we are going to start on with, which we will do tomorrow, is the concept of OOPS. It stands for the Object Oriented Programming. Okay. So we are going to talk about the concept of OOPS right now. So the concept of OOPS basically says that everything around us is an object. And when we say everything around us is an object, when we say everything around us is an object, we basically mean that object has set of properties An object has set of functions. Okay. So we say everything around us as an object, and object has got a set of properties, and object has got a set of functions through which we are able to express them. An object is basically derived from something called as a class. A class is a blueprint or a template from which objects are derived. Okay, so class is a blueprint or a template from which objects are derived. So what type of properties and functions the object will be taking is basically defined in the class. Okay. So what type of properties and functions the object will be taking is defined in the class. It's a blueprint or a template from which the objects are derived. So object is also known as an instance of a class. So the object is also known as an instance of a class. So at that instance, what is it that is created? For example, I say we have got a human class created. If we have a human class, what could be the properties of those class? Properties could be name, gender, age, address, etc. What could be the functions associated with that of a class? The functions could be walk, talk, sleep, etc. These could be the functions which are associated with the class which is human. So properties and functions. Then let us say we have got something as car as a class. So we have got properties available for a car. It could be color of the car. It could be type of the car. It could be the seat capacity. It could be the engine type, etc. etc. What could be the functions of the car? Mileage could be the function. Then when does it need a service? That could be a function, and so on and so forth. The objects belonging to different class are different. Objects belonging to the same class are similar. So a car object would be similar to another car object, though the data associated with it could be different, but the property function would be same. Similarly, a human object would be different from another human object. Again, the data associated with that would be different, but the properties and function would be the same. So we have got a human class and a car class, but an object of the car class will not be same as the object of the human class. Is this clear? Okay. Do you guys have any questions on the concept which we have discussed today? Anything which is not clear? So tomorrow when we meet, we are going to see how do we create a class, how do we create objects, how do we create the concept of inheritance, how do we basically talk about the concept of packages and the concept of accessibility operators. We are going to see all of that. Fine. Okay. So thank you for your time today. Practice the concepts which we have discussed in the class, and we will take some assignments on our discussion tomorrow. Tomorrow's session would be at 5 p.m. IST, the same time which I have shared with you guys, and we will meet at that time. You guys are on your EST time zone. It is the same time. It is the same time on which we generally used to have classes. So 5 p.m. EST is your 6:30 a.m. You can use this link. Keep this link handy to basically figure out and match your time zones. So it's the same time during which we used to always have our class. So we'll meet at that time. Okay, guys. Thank you so much. Have a good weekend. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye, everyone.